Hey, Megan Scully, and this is the Limerick Post Show. And joining me now is author Jenny Hickman. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Really good. It's so great to chat to you.
Yes, author to author.
Exactly. And we're going to get into your latest book very, very shortly. But I want to bring it back to maybe when you were younger. Like, was creative writing and English maybe always a passion of yours, or how did it all kick off?
When I was very young, I loved reading and writing, and then I kind of got to my teen years and I discovered boys and soccer, and so writing went out the window. And it wasn't until I went to college again that I fell in love with reading again. My mom introduced me to my first romance novel,
Oh, wow.
and then I fell in love. And yeah, after that, I think it was probably about 2010 when I actually sat down and wrote my first book, but it was awful. So we won't talk about that one.
And how did you find the experience of penning a book?
Um, it's it's exhausting. There's a lot that goes into it, especially when you get into the edits and stuff, and you start working with editors who know what they're doing, and it's exhausting, but it's really rewarding to see it now on paper. It's like these are my words. This is my world. It's great.
And what age were you? Was it when you were in college, or was it when you were younger that you kind of had the idea of wanting to become an author and to write books?
Um, I'd say it was definitely whenever I was a bit older. I didn't, yeah, I have a business degree from college, and I didn't really even see it as a viable option. And then I was like, yeah, you know what, this is something I really am passionate about, and it ended up working out for me. So
I think that's lovely too that you said because I think a lot of us go into degrees and it's like, oh, we'll do this now because we have to do it. And things like writing books, it sometimes it feels like, oh, could I ever do that? And then it's like, it's great. I think it's lovely. And I find as well, letting people know that you can do it. If you decide you want to write a book, go ahead and do it.
exactly, yeah, that's a lot of people say, oh, I have an idea. I said, well, the thing is to write it.
Yeah.
Like the ideas are fine, but getting it on paper, like that's like if you want to have to write.
And I think as well, what people probably don't, I suppose, realize that the amount of hours that go in behind the scenes, it's at it like months, sometimes years. Like it's not just to sit down and write a book. Like it's a whole process that takes time.
Yes, yeah. I think I started this actually before I had kids. So that would have been 7 years ago. And then I had kids, and it just like my brain stopped working for those 2 years. And then it kind of came back to me, and I thought, yeah, okay, I can pick this up again now that they're in school and I have a bit of time. And yeah, it's hours a day. It's not even just the writing. It's like it's in your brain. Like it's like you'll be out doing something, and all of a sudden an idea pops up, and you're like trying to function in the real world, but you're like, I'd like to just write this down here. So
I find that as well. I could be out for a walk or run, and suddenly something pops in my head, and I'm like, oh, where's my phone? Quick, type it down, type it down. And I find sometimes the best material comes when you're doing something else, and you're like, no, stay in my head, please.
I know, or right before you're falling asleep, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'll remember that in the morning. You won't. Write it down.
Oh, absolutely. I constantly have pen and paper with me all the
Yeah.
time because, well, except when I'm out running, which is probably when I should start. Like, I might need to put a little notepad into my pocket or something.
Exactly. Yeah, that's where the phone is good though. It's very handy to have.
It really is. And of course, that brings us on to the pan. I have my own copy here. I started reading, I'm a few chapters in. And first of all, I want to talk about the cover. And I love the feel of the book as well.
So soft, you can sleep with it at night.
Yeah, as soon as I got it in my hands, I was like, I love it. I just think it's gorgeous. And yeah, the
Thank you.
soft
Thank
and
you.
so tell
I
us,
know, yeah.
tell us about the cover design.
Yeah, so in the book they go to my version Neverland, which is like a college. And their symbol is the rooster. So because Peter Pan crows like a rooster, anybody who's read the novel or seen the plays and stuff, they all kind of know that. So yeah, I have sometimes issues when I read books with people on the cover, because I'm like, those aren't the people in my brain. So I
Yeah.
didn't want to have any people on the cover. I just wanted to be very simple. And I'm actually doing the cover release for this book too today. So, and it is something kind of similar. It's called The Hook. But yeah, I wanted it to be, I knew I wanted it to be green and gold. And then the designer actually added in a bit of the turquoise, and it ended up being beautiful. So
Yeah, it is. It's really, really stunning. Now, without, I suppose, giving too much away, give us the kind of synopsis of the book.
okay, it's written from two different perspectives. The main character is Vivian Dunn. She's just turned 18, and she finds out that she has something called the Never Gene, and that gives her basically all the abilities that Peter Pan has, and that Peter Pan is real. And she goes off on this wonderful adventure. It's not so much magical and fantasy; it's more science. So it's categorized actually as sci-fi because I deal with genetics and everything, but it's not too heavy. It's pretty light. So.
It's funny you say there about someone in your mind. So Deacon, he's been described as the handsome man. So in my head, he is Robert Pattinson crossed with Zac Efron, because I suppose I fancy those two. So I'm like,
Exactly. Yeah. So that was my issue with having like someone on the cover. It's like, if this person isn't attractive, like I can't imagine this people. I'm going to take whoever's in my brain anyway and just make them into, like, I'm going to probably be Vivian in the story, because obviously you want to be the main character.
Yeah.
At least I would.
I know, yeah. So I found that really fascinating so far. I'm like, I'm visualizing everything now. Already at the book, I'm a few chapters in, but I'm already like kind of in my head going, what's going to happen next? Well, this could happen. And I'm just completely like, when I'm in it, I'm just completely in there, and I'm like kind of imagining what's going on, because I'm not a fast reader. So I'm like going through being like, and then I put it down. And I'm like, oh, I wonder now what's going to happen next. So I have to say, I think it's
good.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely brilliant. And I just have to say, like, I really am enjoying it. And, and I haven't read kind of a book like sci-fi style book in a couple of years. So I'm just loving the having something different to read as well.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, I mean, I think whenever I first put it out, people were like, "Oh, sci-fi." I'm like, it's more just explaining how people can fly with science, and it's not necessarily another world. It's just bringing Peter Pan and all of that into this world where we could all use a bit of an escape and a bit of magic, I think.
That's exactly what it is too, because I think at the moment we all do, as you said, we need some kind of escapism. We need this reality. And I think as well, growing up, we've all dreamt that we can fly. We've all gone through there. We've all wanted to fly. I think when you ask someone what superpower you want, it's like, I want to fly, because I want to just fly around the place.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that was what my, like, whenever I was growing up, I would never been into the Disney princesses and stuff. I always, like, Peter Pan and Robin Hood were my two like movies that I loved. And I always was Peter Pan whenever my sisters and I would play outside. I'm like, I just need to fly. And I'd be jumping off of random stuff. Like, that's always what I wanted to do. I think that's where this really came from.
It is. It's absolutely super. And so speaking of the pan, where can we get it?
All right, so right now it's available on Amazon.co.uk, Book Depository. We're working on getting it in some shops in Ireland, but things are all closed up. It's actually worked out really well being able to have it online, because people can order it and have it delivered and not have to worry about going into any shops or anything. So that's the best place to get it. Also, I'm working with Novel Ideas book subscription service, which just started in Limerick. And they're going to be doing a subscription box where you can get a signed copy. It's kind of a gift box. I think they're going to be launching it at the end of the month, so you can watch like social media and stuff on that to see when that's available.
And speaking of social media, where can we find you?
I'm at author Jenny Hickman on both Facebook and Instagram.
Jenny, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. And I'm already visualizing this as a movie.
Yes, that's the next thing now.
It's been an absolute pleasure. So you have a second book that's
This is the first in a trilogy. So the next book is coming out on the 3rd of March. So I'm super excited about that. It gets a bit steamier. And so I'm excited, a bit more adventurous, and people die, and it's super exciting. So doing the cover reveal this week. And so I'll be doing teasers and stuff online up until the 3rd of March when it's released.
Well, I have to say, I think this is a perfect Christmas gift as well, and perfect reading over winter. And then, of course, getting ready then for the second book in March.
Yes.
Jenny, thank you so much for chatting to us at Limerick Post Show. It's been so great getting to know you and learning more about your book. And of course, I know I'm loving it, so I can't wait to get all the way in there and get it finished. And of course, the second book as well, which is out in the new year.
Yes, thank you so much.